Greetings, this is Chessoptics and I'm Damien here to show you one of my games that I played on chess.com between an opponent by the name of Wanderlei Bittencourt, who's rated 1573. I don't know anything about him. I've never played him before according to my game history, but it was an interesting game, and as usual I'm in such joy of, I like, seeing tactics, I guess. So I like the tactical, small little tactical shot at the end of this game where, it was a double attack with the queen on the rook and the king, and he resigned after that. So not to get into too much pre-details, I'll start the game here, and I hope you enjoy. So my first move is e4. He plays e6. I bring my knight out to c3, trying to get into my Vienna game. He plays c6. I play f4, and I think this is a time-wasting move, bringing the queen to h4 to call check. For what? I'm going to push g3. When I play g3, he goes back to d8 with the queen, and I just play a4, get over queenside space. He pushes d5. I push d3. He pushes to d4. Did he get the tempo back? Maybe. Pawn to c5. My bishop goes to g2. He brings his knight out to c6. I bring my knight to f3. He brings his pawn to g6. I castle. He brings his bishop to g7. I bring my bishop to d2. Brings his knight out to e7. I push my pawn to c3. He castles. I take on d4. He captures with the knight. My bishop goes to c3. Brings his knight to c6. And I decide to open a diagonal for my g2 bishop by pushing the pawn to e5. He plays f6. I take the knight. He takes with the pawn. I capture the in-between move. Pawn captures, threatening the bishop on g7. He takes with the bishop. My bishop goes back to d2. He plays e5. My queen checks him by going to b3, checking the king on g8, which then moves to g7. I bring my rook over to c1. He brings his queen to d6. Pawn captures e5. Knight captures e5. The bishop pins the knight to the queen on d6. He moves the rook to b8. Knight takes e5. Bishop takes e5. Bishop takes e5 check. Queen takes e5. My rook captures. King captures. Rook slides over to f1 check. King goes to g7. I check him on f7 with my queen. He moves to h6. I go to f8. This is his blunder where he checks. He blocks the check with his queen on g7, and I come to f4, checking him and picking up the rook, which is over here on b8. So at this point, my opponent resigned. And I just wanted to present that short little game to you. Hopefully you enjoyed. This is Chessoptics signing off. Please don't forget to like, leave suggestions in your comments below, and don't forget to subscribe and hit the bell so you get notifications when I present new games and new chess information, puzzles, whatever I decide to bring and present. I hope you enjoy it. So with that, peace.